My predecessor in this job hired a man named Charles Grady as the winter caretaker. And he came up here with his wife and two little girls, I think about 8 and 10. And he had a good employment record, good references. And from what I've been told, I mean, he seemed like a completely normal individual. But at some point during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of a complete mental breakdown. He ran amok and killed his family with an axe. Stacked them neatly in one of the rooms of the West Wing, and then he put both barrels of a shotgun in his mouth.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Cheapseat Reviews, the podcast that explores the Hollywood film industry for the greater good. Oh, you're just going to do it super early? Okay. This is episode 226. Wouldn't it have been really cool if this would have been on episode 237? I didn't even think about that.
That would have been perfect.
I didn't even think about that as an option. But it's episode 226, and tonight we're talking about The Shining.
Shiny.
Oh yes, I should have that handy. And tonight I'm Sean Allred, and joining me tonight is Andrew Rad Rob Jemison.
Andrew's not here right now, Mrs. Torrance.
Actually, really good.
Freaking creepy. Oh, love it.
And Sam Snowcat Ex Machina Vector.
Absolutely. And my weapon of choice would be to hit you in the chest with a full-fledged axe there, Sean.
Cool. Well, at least I'd die quickly, I guess.
I'd run screaming, though, around the corner and give you about 3 seconds worth of time to at least get out of the way or try to deflect it.
And don't worry, even though I've known that I'm going to go on this trip, I mean, I flew up here from Miami and then got onto a borrowed snow vehicle. I'm not going to have any way to defend myself. I'm not going to bring any other law enforcement, even though I know something is wrong, and I'm going to be completely and utterly useless like most of the people in this movie.
So I have explanation for that.
No, you don't.
I do.
You have a theory that some wackadoo put on Facebook. There is nothing in this movie that would say...
I think it's a full-fledged theory.
It's a theory, and that's all it is. It's a theory.
But you can't disprove it.
You can't disprove it because it's a theory, unless I read the book, which I might actually do this book.
That would be interesting. Only because I know Stephen King hates this movie.
He does. Yes, that's he's gone on record many times. In fact, Kubrick even went so far as when Stephen King wanted to re-release this as a miniseries, which they did in the 90s, I think. Mm-hmm. Kubrick basically, because Kubrick owns the rights to the movie, not the movie, but to the viewing rights, to make it a television art form, whatever. And he basically said to Stephen King, I will relinquish them, but you have to stop making fun. You have to stop talking bad about the movie. It drove Kubrick crazy how much he hated this movie.
It tells me it's very different than the book.
Yeah, I guess so a movie like this has lots and lots of trivia. I mean, there's a whole.
By the way, what movie are we talking about?
The Shining. I've said that. 1980s The Shining. I did say that. Actually, go ahead, Andrew. I guess maybe Sam is setting up the.
Yeah, I was wondering what this movie's about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In case you've made it this far, into both the show and life and don't know what this movie's about. Please tell us.
A family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter, where an evil spiritual presence influences the father into violence, while his psychic son sees horrific forebodings from the past and of the future.
Whoa.
Okay. So, yeah. I guess I should ask this before we go much farther. Was I the only one that had not seen this before?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it several times.
I've seen it 3 times. This time was my 3rd.
Okay.
No, you know what? I'm probably there with Andrew. I've seen it like parts of it many, many times. This might have been my full 3rd time.
Sure.
I watched it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Just on a whim. And then I saw it maybe when I was in high school.
Okay. I had seen bits and pieces through other pop culture references.
Oh, yeah. You've seen the Here's Johnny.
Yeah, I've seen that a bunch of times. I've actually seen the scene where he's riding his bike and he sees the girls. Because that's in another movie. It's in the movie Twister when they are hanging out at the drive-in movie, and that's the movie that they're playing. And that whole "Come play with us, Daddy," that scene happens.
Oh, and speaking of, not Full Metal Jacket, the movie with the virtual reality that just came out and had the Shining, Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
Make more sense to you now?
Sort of. I mean, there were some moments so they make reference in the movie in Ready Player One. I mean, gosh, they go into the movie, The Shining, which of course is the creator of the place. It's his favorite horror film or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there were scenes that from that when I watched this, I'm like, oh, okay, but it didn't make sense why the old ladies tried to kill the person in Ready Player One, because I was actually waiting for her to try to kill Jack, and she doesn't. She just laughs at him.
Laughs and
yeah. So there's that, but so there was some other stuff so again, I had never seen the movie, so there was a lot that I was confused about going into this movie, and the part that honestly that confused me the most. Okay, that's not true. There's a lot of stuff that confused me about this movie, but I mean a lot. But one of the things that confused me was the "Here's Johnny" line, because I thought, and I know it's a reference to, or not reference, but it's a
Johnny Carson.
It's Johnny Carson, right? It's when he would get introduced and say, "Here's Johnny." Like, I got that part, but I always thought that the reason why he did it in the movie was because his name was Johnny, and it just fit. So they kept calling him Jack the whole time, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me this guy has gone through a psychotic break? Ghosts are talking to him, and yet he uses a pop culture reference? That doesn't make sense. Like, if I would have had popcorn, I would have thrown it at the screen. I'm just saying.
Oh.
I guess, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I didn't like this movie.
Oh.
And people are going to probably, I would love people to come on here and to explain how wrong I am. I didn't get it. I don't get, there's nothing scary in this movie to me at all.
It's more of a thriller.
Well, okay, fine. There's nothing thrilling. It's long, and I know Kubrick's films are slow burns. I know that.
They're atmospheric.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, maybe 2 or 3 times, and that's a long slow burn. I mean, that's a long movie, especially when there's long swaths of the movie that there's no sound. But I didn't like it. And maybe you guys can explain. Now, again, we can, if you guys want to talk about all these weird theories that we read, the ones that you posted in the group message, we can talk about that. But as far as what the movie is, what the job that we are quote unquote paid to do to review the movie.
Wait, what? We're paid?
In each other's company only. and the little bit of
camaraderie?
No. Dopamine. That's what you get right when you succeed. The little bit of the little dopamine hit I get whenever I look at the downloads and see that people are still downloading the show.
I told you, doping, Sam.
The podcast.
Yeah, you was.
So I want you guys to try to convince me why this is revered as one of the best horror films of all time. because I don't get it.
Well, I admit, the first time that I saw this, I remember thinking the same thing. I don't get it. I don't understand why it's scary. I don't understand why people like it. But the more I've watched it, the more I like it, and the more that I understand it. And this is before I read any theories or anything.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with Andrew. Where the first time I saw it, it really was. I was bored. It had some interesting moments certainly, but it was very boring to me. But I think these outside sources, these outside theories, these outside different ideas around the movie make it even better for me to look at and try to figure out what Kubrick was trying to say. Because he was a filmmaker who would, like, every single item placed in a scene has a specific purpose for Kubrick. Mm-hmm. And of course, the way the camera pans and the way the camera goes. Were you guys able to watch that documentary, Room 237?
No, I had just no time this week.
There's one about the specific path that Danny takes on his bike can't work because of the way that they showed the hotel in the first few scenes or something like that. And that alone, trying to disorient you, it's fascinating to me. Just if any of these theories were correct, it makes the movie that much deeper. And I like that. I like to be able to think about this type of thing. Now, however, the mother still drives me crazy. I can't even get behind being scared for her in this movie.
There's some bad actors in this movie. Scatman Crothers, he had no business being on screen. And a lot of the hotel staff and the mother were just terrible in this movie.
So I'm going to defend Shelley Duvall for a little bit here.
Okay.
I think she was asked to do one thing, to be, and this is going to sound super mean, to be a useless, hysterical mother. And she nailed it. She nailed it. I hated her from the time I saw her on screen. I couldn't stand her. She is a useless individual. She is.
Yep.
All of her dialogue sucks. I'm not saying the dialogue that she was given to write. I'm saying they didn't give her any meaningful things to say, right?
No.
The majority of her dialogue is either, "What's wrong, Jack?" or "What's wrong, Danny?" Or just hysterical crying, right? Now I know that
in a weird Southern accent-ish.
Yeah,
even though she's from Vermont.
Yeah, that was weird, but whatever. I don't care about that part. But like, she is this the fact that she even connects with Jack while she's walking backwards up the stairs with the baseball bat is kind of frankly a miracle. Because
which, if you read Andrew's theory that he posted, that makes sense now.
Again, I can't do that. I have to go off the movie. In the movie, she's swatting at him like he's some fly she's shooing away. Even if she would have hit him in the head, it would have just hurt a little. Like if my son had hit me with a bat, I would have been annoyed.
When you hold a bat in the middle, it just it won't do.
But I understand. The point of it simply was that we needed to hobble Jack.
Yep.
Because, I mean, let's face
it.
He
needed to be faster than him in the maze.
Yeah, we needed him to be at a disadvantage in the maze for the finale. That's the whole purpose of that scene. Of that moment, I mean, not the scene, that moment. The scene builds great tension. And the way that the director, the way Kubrick filmed it was brilliant. I love the fact that we don't get a jump scare, when she's looking over. Okay, after about the third page, I got it. It's all the same, and it's weird. I didn't need her to dive in all 300 pages of him being a lunatic. Mm-hmm. But there could have been a jump scare, right? There could have been, we're seeing her face, and then there could have been she shifts her weight, and he's standing behind her, and there's a jump scare. He doesn't do that. He gives Jack a chance to come in organically and then just freak her out, and we feel the tension. So there's moments in the movie like, oh yeah, that's actually really good. I get this. But then there's parts where it's like, we complain all the time, and I mean all the time, when movies kind of change the rules halfway through the movie. So you're telling me now, and again, you have to throw Andrew's theory out the door.
Out the window.
You can't do that for the movie.
Even though it's a great theory.
It is a good theory. I think the theory actually, in my opinion, makes the movie a little bit better.
Yeah.
But again, I can't do that because you're telling me now ghosts can unlock doors? Like, how does Jack can only get out of the cooler unless Ghost Grady opens the door for him? So if Grady can open the door for him there, why didn't he just go upstairs and open the door to the bathroom?
Well, that's why Andrew's theory was, that's why it makes so much sense. But yeah, it's kind of that same way where the physicality of the ghosts, when did that happen?
So my wife has seen this. Yeah. And she has seen, or she heard me reading this theory because I was kind of mumbling it to myself. And I was like, oh, God, it makes so much more sense now. And she was like, what, you didn't get that from the movie? And I said, oh, really? You're telling me that you thought this the whole time? And she said, yeah, absolutely. And so I guess just the way that she was perceiving it, it was this kid all along.
So she's perceiving that Danny is the bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the bad guy, but he is engineering a way to be rid of his abusive father.
Yeah.
I never thought of that until I just read that. By the way, should we go ahead and say what that theory is? Now that our listeners are like, shut up and tell me what's going on.
Yeah, you can check it out yourself if you want. It's a cracked.com site, which, by the way, their site kind of sucks. It's not good for mobile.
Especially on mobile.
Yeah, it sucks on mobile. Crack.com/blog/The Shining makes way more sense if the kid villain. So just do a little Google search for that. Basically, the idea is that Danny is way more powerful with The Shining than we're led on, and can actually, he's more like legit like Professor X level stuff, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, I wonder if that's in the book.
If you think about, and here's what has kind of, after reading this, it made a whole lot more sense to me. The title of the movie itself, and like The Shining, as it's explained by Scatman, he has this power to project. And after hearing that and reading the theory, I was like, God, it makes so much more sense now. And again, my wife, from the minute she heard me mumbling it under my breath, she was like, yeah, that's what the whole movie's about. And I was like, yeah, okay.
So then it wouldn't even really be a horror film. It would be
a revenge film.
Kind of a revenge, not quite a coming of age, whatever. I don't know. I mean, there's other parts of the theory that don't. I mean, why would he scare himself with some stuff? And I guess someone might be arguing that doesn't go along with this theory that, well, ghosts have actually shown that they can affect real things because Danny shows up with bruises on his neck.
Yeah, there you go.
But in the book, he's attacked by a hose. A scary hose, which isn't seen in the movie. So I guess he is attacked physically by that. So I guess we are saying that the ghost can do physical things, like unlocking doors, I guess. So I guess one of the other questions I had is that is the place haunted because of Grady, or is the place haunted, it's always been haunted? And it's just Grady is what's there now. Because what caused Grady to go crazy?
I take it as it's always been haunted.
Yeah.
And
because of the whole Indian burial ground thing.
Yeah.
I got
a trope.
some. Even before I watched Room 237, which we'll go into the whole Indian thing in that documentary. There's imagery everywhere in the movie from Indian. Mm-hmm. Indian designs, Indian food, all that sort of stuff. So I figured maybe it was some sort of revenge burial ground type of thing. So like even before the hotel was built, that area was probably very
spiritual,
active I guess you could say. Yeah,
I got you.
And then they got really mad when it was, a white man comes and builds on top of it.
Sure. No, I get. I mean, I get that idea, and I'm okay with that idea, and that's why it's haunted. But, so it shows, but the movie doesn't show us that. It only shows us Grady and his influence.
Yeah.
And then there's some other random images that we get that don't make sense in the context of the movie because we're not giving context. Yeah. Like when the mother finally sees the dude getting a BJ from a guy in a bear costume.
What was that?
There's no context to that.
That's straight out of a Kubrick mind, though.
Well, that's actually in the book.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the scene where Wendy is running and sees a room where a man in a bear costume is having sex with a former hotel manager was never explained in the movie, leaving the audience very confused as to why it was there. In the book, during a year at the hotel, the manager had a secret homosexual affair with a party guest dressed in a dog costume. So, I mean, it's a moment in the book that Kubrick just put in the movie for shock value, I guess.
Yeah. So, it kind of goes along with that haunted house trope that certain images and certain happenings just reoccur in the place itself. That's what I got from that type of thing.
Okay.
I still don't understand the blood elevator.
Yeah, I don't get that either. And I don't get...
And that the whole place is so haunted that,
It's just a scary effect. I mean, it took them like 3 months to film that, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny. I keep hearing all these horror stories about Kubrick and how mean he is to his cast and how abusive he was to Shelley Duvall, but super protective of Danny. And, he makes people do like 30 and 40 and 50 takes of each scene.
Yeah.
And all I could think of is if you're crew on one of his movies, you're good for half a year. You know what I'm saying? Like
the crew loves him, right?
Oh yeah, I'm like, okay, how much? I'm going to be the boom operator for this movie. Okay, sure. It's a Kubrick film. Hell yeah,
Sweet.
Sign me up. I'm going to be there for 6 months, getting my day rate, getting 3 meals a day. Heck yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd be all over that. Of course, he probably yells at you for some reason.
Yeah,
it's a boom shadow, and he comes over and slaps
getting
you.
his eye line.
For what it's worth, that wasn't a sound guy. That was the director of photography. So,
okay,
yeah, that wasn't a sound guy. Though the sound guy recorded the scene and then leaked it. So, the sound guy is actually kind of shady in that whole Christian Bale yelling scene. In fact, when I was doing a movie, I was working on a movie when that whole thing happened, and the director of photography on that movie, who was my boss, because I was a grip on that movie, and I was the only grip. So he decided to do his own little Christian Bale on me, and so we were such a small production that I would always look ahead and set up the scene for the next one, so we could always kind of stay on schedule. And so my boss, his name is Damon, he says, set this light here and set this light there and put this color on it and put this color on, whatever. So I'm doing all that. And then when they okay, we're done up here, we're going to move downstairs. So I run upstairs to break down the equipment. And Damon only ever called me All Red. He never called me Sean. He just called. So I hear from downstairs, All Red. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go running downstairs. I'm like, what's going on? And he lays into me. You stupid son of a... And it's just, I told you to put this light there and that light over there, and I gave you simple instructions, and you screwed it all up. And my brain is spinning, right? Because this is in front of the entire cast and crew, right? Of a mostly kind of Christian film kind of basis. So there's a lot of young kids. I mean, he's not cursing, but he still blasts me. And so my brain is in like hyper mode. And then there's a moment where I'm like, the logic center of my brain finally kicks in and says, they're the same light fixture. There literally is no right or wrong. They're literally the same light fixture. So then I'm like, why is he yelling at me? And then he just stops and smiles, and everyone starts laughing, and I laughed. It was pretty funny, but there was about 30 or 45 seconds of him yelling at me where I was like, oh my God, I'm so screwed. I'm in trouble. I'm going to get fired from this job. Anyway, sorry.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. Okay. So a lot of one of the themes of the movie is that alcohol is bad, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And Shelley Duvall is mildly explaining to the doctor lady that, oh yeah, well, Jack, he was drunk one night and he dislocated my son's shoulder, but it's fine. And she calmly mentioned something about she ran into a door, which of course is code for he hit me. So the movie really early on establishes Jack as kind of a horrible human being.
Yeah. He's certainly not a saint.
He's not, and that was one of King's complaints about him, is that he wanted a guy who was the perfect dad, and that's what makes his transformation more shocking. Is, he wants Mr. Rogers to murder his family, because that would be more shocking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of a guy who at the beginning of the movie is already labeled as an asshole. So.
Well, and I did this one time. I did notice. You start noticing Jack's transformation into crazy, and I think this time I noticed it right after she comes in, basically accusing him of hurting the kid, and he kind of goes pretty crazy pretty quick. At least in my mind, because that's when he goes up to the bar and the bar appears, and all that sort of stuff. He basically sells his soul for a glass of alcohol,
bourbon. Yeah, I think is what it was. Yeah.
So that was one time this viewing, at least I was like, I love seeing crazy Jack. Who doesn't, right?
But when isn't he crazy?
But when Jack is crazy, he's crazy, dude. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if he's an ounce of crazy in real life.
Yeah, I don't know. He scares me as an individual. I'd be terrified to even work with him.
I think this was a great audition for the Joker.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
An audition that he didn't want, because he didn't want to do the Joker until Tim Burton kind of berated him into doing it. I wrote a lot of notes before because again, it's a long movie. So I wrote a lot of notes before we even got to the hotel and the snow and stuff. I mean, I wrote, why is it a thing that Kubrick only borrows classical music? I mean, he's using Dies Irae. Now, I then found out that that's actually not Dies Irae. I mean, it is, but it's not just straight up Dies Irae. He stole it from another movie he did. That's actually music from A Clockwork Orange.
Really?
Yeah. So
it certainly sounds like Dies Irae.
It is Dies Irae, but they stole it from. It's like an arrangement of Dies Irae. And then I said, a time when you could smoke in the house with your kid. The 80s.
Dude, right up against him.
I know.
Literally, she's breathing it into his face. Yeah.
And then I wrote, so he's a writer, school teacher / repairman. His skill set didn't seem right for the job. That never made sense to me. They're like, oh, we need you to be the caretaker. Okay, what qualifications do you have to start a boiler or trim the hedges and keep the line? I'm a writer. Okay.
I can understand certainly making sure, the place doesn't burn down, that there's no leaks in the roof.
Yeah, but again, they never explain that he has that skill set, but whatever, it's fine. But again, of course, according to Andrew's theory, none of that matters because the kid tricks the guy we heard in the intro into hiring Jack. Yeah. So whatever. I did write minor child abuse, ... I know we did things differently in 1980 than we do now, but leaving your kid in the game room still seems weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. My kids are outside in the street right now.
Playing.
They wanted to start juggling knives, so I said, sure.
Yeah.
Take them out of the kitchen and go out there.
Go out and play in the street.
Practice.
That's great. I love it.
Don't come in until you get it right.
Yeah, make sure they. Here's a lawn dart from my youth. And,
oh gosh. Oh. Those things, did any of you guys ever play those? By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things were terrifying.
Well, I played lawn dart. I didn't have a lawn dart. I had an arrow from a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember why I had one arrow, but I just had one. And Chris Manley and I would play lawn darts with the arrow.
We'd there was three of us guys in the neighborhood, and one of us would throw it as far up in the air as we could, and then we'd stand back to back to back.
Yeah.
Throw it way up and then run, and then it would land. Hopefully, where we were standing, but you never quite knew if the aim was a little off.
So I grew up in a redneck household, and
so you would just shoot. You would shoot buckshot at each other.
Yeah, my brother and I both had a bow and arrow, like a youth bow and arrow, but still could be lethal. And stand in the front yard with friends over at our house, shoot it straight up in the air. And then we played chicken, basically, and the first one to move was out.
Oh, my gosh.
Don't they do that in the Big Daddy movie?
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Not Big Daddy. Grown-Ups. That's what it is, Grown-Ups. Yeah.
Grown-Ups.
And friggin', the burro's going to be pissed. That guy, he got it in the foot twice in that movie.
So he won.
Or lost, I don't know. Either way, it was funny. Well, my buddy Steven Everett, who's been on the show before, we used to, he had a collection of BB guns, and so did I had one, and Chris had one. And we would play at night. We would go, and he had one of those. So imagine like those, like a tree house, but it was a brand new neighborhood, so there was no trees. So it was just like a fort up in the air on 4x4s that were 9-10 feet in the air. So again, treehouse, just no trees. And so whoever was on the treehouse got the rifle BB gun. You do 2 pumps, not enough to break skin, right? And then the other was we would try to sneak up, and the goal was to get close enough that because we had pistols, to get close enough with the pistols, and we had a target, like a piece of paper, plastic target, whatever, to hit the target. Because you couldn't hit it at anything you had to be closer than 30 yards. Had to be. So so basically we're sneaking in the dark trying to get close enough, and the last 30 yards is just open yard. So either you just make a run for it and hope your bullet hits, or otherwise whoever's in the castle is going to get you to, in the chest with a BB gun. We used to play that all the time. Amazing we literally didn't shoot our eyes out. Oh my God.
Dear Lord.
Oh, the kids of the 90s, man. Anyway. Speaking of kids, I would have been all over that property in that snowcat. The first time he's like, here's a snowcat. You ever driven one? Nope. But I'm going to. The first snow, so that it doesn't screw up the yard, I'm all over this place. I would have been all over it.
Did anybody ever notice, either on the very first opening shots of the hotel, there's no way that that maze would be that big in that area?
No, I didn't. I never thought about that.
If you ever watch it again, check it out, because it shows the outside view of the hotel, which is basically on the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
And there is no way that the maze is where it's shown later in the movie.
Well, part of the maze was built, like the big part of the maze was built like on an airstrip or something. I think. I know the scenes where they're filming at the end when Jack's chasing Danny, that was filmed on the same set as Empire Strikes Back on Hoth. They use a lot of the same snow.
They just reuse snow?
Yeah, which is basically salt and styrofoam. Crushed salt and styrofoam. And the part of the trivia, again, there's a lot of trivia on this movie. They talked about like it was so hot on set during those scenes that literally like the crew was down to like boxer shorts and t-shirts, and whenever the cast would have breaks between resetting up shots, they would literally just take their clothes off.
Oh my gosh!
Like Jack would be down to just his pants and his wife beater, and Danny would strip down because it was so hot. Yeah, I know. I guess he never laid a hand on her. It was only the kid. Most of his aggression was towards the kid. Which goes back to
did try, but he just couldn't get through. Oh, I did notice a mistake this time. The bathroom door.
Okay.
The bathroom door, when he first, he gets through one panel, he sticks his face in, here's Johnny, and he hears the snowcat start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which causes him to leave.
Mm-hmm.
When you next see his wife starting to try to get out of the door, 2 panels have been knocked out on the door.
Mm.
That's something I noticed this time too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't typically go through the goofs on IMDb for a movie before we do the podcast, just because you can get real. Well, you can just you can get real into the woods. Dick Halloran is shown to possess the Shining, a combination of telepathic and precognitive abilities. However, he was somehow unable to foresee his own death at the hands of Jack. Yeah,
that's because Jack isn't showing him that part.
Danny, you mean?
Or Danny? Yes. Yeah,
this is different to the book, where Dick is able to sense his potential death in the near future. The changes, yeah, Scatman.
So I just popped up the IMDb page.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we've all seen the Shining poster, the yellow with the big T.
Yeah.
I don't know if that accurately reflects what the movie is.
Yeah, that image is kind of terrifying. What, like
that one image is more terrifying than
anything in the movie. Like, is it the child? Is that Jack? Like, what is that?
Yeah, right.
It almost looks like a Chucky doll. I mean, seriously, like, I don't know what that is or who it's supposed to be. I guess that'd be. To
me, that would go up in some of the worst. I would think that belongs more in the demon guy, the Exorcist, than it would Shining.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's weird. Speaking of good horror movies, I would totally put Exorcist in terms of scariness, leaps and bounds in front of this.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did see that there's a bunch of really interesting things about The Shining, the poster itself. And there's a whole Gizmodo.com, Kubrick and the guy that did it, but anyway, there was like 300 different kinds of posters created for the movie. I just did a Google search of whose face is it on the poster. There's a lot of Saul Bass's rejected poster concepts for The Shining. The Fox. Supposedly, it shows Jack Nicholson's grinning face to the jagged hole. Well, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't look like Jack. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
Like, at all. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff you can get into about. Like, the one that I've seen before is the one where it is Jack's face through the door. That's the one that I've seen the most. In fact, the yellow one there is actually kind of, for the first time I've actually seen it was when we watched this the other day.
Oh, by the way, I checked out Goofs on IMDb, and the first 2 are talking about the maze and then the door panels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, under continuity?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, continuity's hard, and even on a movie like, especially with Kubrick, where you have so many takes, you're going to have a lot of continuity issues.
Yeah.
The ones that I like are like crew or equipment visible. When Jack enters Mr. Ullman's office for the interview, you can see Kubrick's head and a crew member reflected in the window. That stuff makes me laugh. Shadows from camera equipment are occasionally visible on Denny's back when he's riding to the hotel on the trike. Like you talked about, Sam, earlier about the stuff that fascinated you. The stuff that fascinated me about this movie was the new technology invented, the Steadicam. The Steadicam was invented, and this movie was the first to take advantage of that technology. That's how we got that really cool shot of Danny on the trike, because literally the Steadicam op is in a wheelchair being pushed by a crew so he can kind of keep up with Danny. That's why we get that, like, we're flying behind him scene.
I wondered about that in the scene where they follow Jack in, or I guess, they follow him into the office because the camera is following him, and then it just kind of stops at the office door, and they're all in there together. And I thought, man, the camera is really steady for somebody to be holding it.
Yeah.
So I thought that maybe that's something,
Yeah, the Steadicam, and you see Steadicams every time you watch a football game, right? Every time someone scores a touchdown, the guy runs out with a Steadicam. I mean, that's old technology now. I've even operated a Steadicam before. Well, it wasn't the brand Steadicam. It's technically called a glide cam, but that's not the point. The point is that the technology in 1980 was so new and innovative that it was really cool, and it really gave you an opportunity to create these really cool shots. I mean, like one of my favorite Steadicam shots ever, and of course it's in my favorite movie of all time, is in Serenity. The opening scene when we're meeting all the crew of the of Serenity for the first time. If you're watching the movie only as the movie, when you're meeting the crew, that's all Steadicam, and they do. It's about a 5-minute scene, and there's only one cut because there's only so much film you can fit in a can on a film camera. But hi, Kat. Once again, we're doing a Halloween movie, and you got to come over here and freaking scare me.
Of course.
Bless it. Like next month or next week when we're done with Halloween movies and stuff, she won't come near me anymore.
That's how cats are.
I guess.
Yeah.
She can sense.
They're half in.
They are half in. Yeah.
I have a friend who told me she had a cat growing up, and one day it just decided, I'm done with you guys, and it went to live with a neighbor. And that's totally the attitude of a cat.
Yeah.
Lived with them for like 5 years, and then one day was like, no, I'm out.
They got better cat food. Their litter is nicer. I said only Jack can have a conversation with his own kids seems super creepy. Also, again, the whole movie really does a good job of making you hate Jack. Listening to him justify him hurting his kid, which again, barring Andrew's theory, and I'm just going to call it your theory because you're the one that sent the link. I know you didn't actually create the theory. Is that why does Jack's recount of him hurting his kid different than Wendy's?
Yeah.
Like she said, it was 3 years ago. Jack says, no, it's 5 months ago. So either she's lying to cover up for Jack, which in an abusive relationship she would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or he has hurt Danny more recently than 3 years ago. So, anyway. Either way, Jack sucks. I also thought I did laugh when Scatman, the only two pictures in his room are of naked black women. That just made me laugh.
Was that the 80s? I mean, was that early 80s, late 70s? I mean,
I guess.
Was that a thing?
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
There was a lot of naked in this movie for non-sexually naked. Like the naked woman out of the bathtub. I mean, it was... Again, still not sure the point of it.
Well, I liked the theory's explanation of that. That it's Danny trying to prove that his dad is a terrible person.
Well, he's trying to justify him basically murdering his dad because he was unfaithful to mom. So,
and in the theory, it says that the only reason that they just hug and kiss is that's the only thing sexual that a kid that age would know.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and I'm okay with that idea of the theory. Again, it still doesn't make sense to the movie what the whole purpose of it was anyway. I'm assuming that room 237. I think the movie does a good job of making you assume that 237 is the room where
magic happens.
Yeah, where he killed his family and killed himself, and so that room is more spiritually connected or whatever, more haunted than the rest of the rooms.
That room is pure 80s magic, by the way. Early 80s, late 70s magic.
No kidding.
The decor and the furniture is just spot on.
I guess maybe the movie does, other than the fact that Danny has a bruise, maybe the ghost because the door's locked, right? Danny checks that the door's locked. and then Danny goes by another time, and then there's a key in it. So I guess the ghost put the key there. So maybe the ghost did. There was a time in which the ghosts move matter around. So, okay, there, I solved my own issue. I didn't know so much that this movie was not at the hotel. We follow. Okay, again, I know that. So I've spent this year. I've flown half a dozen times this year to various places around the states.
Jet setter.
And I know flying in the 1980s is different than flying now, but I am always painfully aware of when my flight leaves and when it lands and like all that stuff. I'm just hyper vigilant. So just showing the scene where he has to flag down a stewardess and says, "What time will we be landing in Denver?" And she's like, "Oh, it'll be about 5 hours." No, you would have known that a long time ago. Like, that information is not new. That's not secret. They would have said that 1,000 times between the time that you got on the plane when they do the safety check. Like, I know the whole purpose is just so that we know that he's on a plane and it takes 5 hours to get there. So we have at least 5 hours while Jack can terrorize his family. Fine. But just...
Maybe he was shining during that.
Maybe
time.
Maybe he's trying to shine in. Maybe, I don't know. But you're not wrong, Andrew. The movie you're saying, which one would you make the point that the book is called The Shining, and there's very little shining actually happening.
Yep.
It's more like the slowly going insane ing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just.
It's like it's a haunting with.
Yeah, it's a haunting.
Insanity.
Yeah. There's very little actually shining happening. So
they could easily called it The Overlook.
Yeah.
Which again, I go back to that's why the theory makes more sense.
Again, the theory does make the movie a little bit better for me, but I still don't like the movie very much at all. I'm just being honest. And again, I want people to try to argue with me why they think it's great.
I appreciate the atmosphere. I don't know, the music and the creepy choirs and I really appreciated that this time in terms of setting up the emotion and setting up the feeling of creepiness in this giant hotel.
Sure.
Have you guys ever been place where you're the only one in there and it's just huge and it just feels awkward?
Yeah. I mean, when I was managing the buildings when I was at UNC Charlotte, there was a couple times when I'm in the building by myself, and I mean, it's not a building that's that size. It's a pretty big building, but I never felt not there. The only times I've ever felt any kind of weirdness was actually when I was working at Carowinds in that theater, and.
Well, that's supposed to be haunted down there, isn't it?
It is. Whether you believe in ghosts is irrelevant. The building's haunted. Just telling you. I mean, there's a little girl. She haunts the building. I've not physically seen her. I've seen her actions. I've seen her open doors, like physically seen doors open and there's no one on the other side of them. Doors that can't be opened by wind because they're interior, things like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've seen that kind of stuff.
Seen blood come out of the elevators.
Yeah, no elevator. I've seen blood come out of the ice rink. No.
Out of Snoopy costume.
Yeah. Ooh, that would be terrifying. Snoopy's like starts coughing blood up out of a costume and there's no one in it. Ooh, that'd be terrifying. So yeah, I mean, I get that. Like Kubrick is great at world building. Like if there was some kind of baby that Kubrick and Zack Snyder could have, and then a DC movie would be good because that's Snyder's biggest problem is he can't world build very well.
Yeah.
And Kubrick's and Kubrick's great at it. Again, I felt the emptiness of that hotel a lot. I mean, through like I said, through sound design, I thought that the fun little scene where Jack is looking down at the model of the maze and he's seeing Wendy and Danny walk him on. That was cool. That was a neat shot. So there's a lot of neat things in this movie to like. Kind of one of those the parts It's not the parts are greater than, or it's not the sum are greater than the parts, but like the parts are greater than the sum. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did I use that right? Yeah. It's backwards than the normal thing that you would use it for.
Yeah.
Like this podcast, the three of us are better than the show is. So anyway.
Are you sure?
No. I wasn't expecting the N-word in this movie. That kind of caught me off guard.
During early 80s, of course.
Well, the guy, Grady, remember, he's from the 70s. So it kind of makes sense why Ghost Grady would say the N-word.
Yeah.
So it just still seemed... It just threw me off guard. I was like, oh, my gosh, that was more off-putting than anything else in the movie, honestly. That was the horror moment for me. It was like, oh, we're just going to do that, okay. Did a ghost just double dare him? That's kind of what happens, right? He's like, yeah, we know you. We knew you couldn't kill your wife and kids. No, I can. I can do it. Give me another chance.
Double dog dare you.
I double dare you to kill your family with an axe. Okay, fine. Why wouldn't he go straight? Oh yes, and then when the guy shows up, why wouldn't he go straight to their room? Like why didn't he go straight to the room? And if he thought something was wrong, why didn't he take measures to protect himself, yelling at his location instead of yelling at his location? And then my last note was, oh, that's where that meme comes from, where Jack is frozen on the ground.
Yep.
I've seen that meme 1,000 times, like...
Meanwhile in Boone.
Meanwhile in Boone, or when your wife puts her cold feet on you in bed, like all those kind of things. Yeah. I said that specifically because my wife can... Oh, she's not here. I thought she was. Never mind. Anyway.
Oh, she's there.
Yeah, she is. Somewhere. Always listening. I don't know. I had a hard time putting my brain around this movie. Or wrapping my brain.
But see, that's a Kubrick film, though.
Yeah, I get that.
He doesn't do it just for, I don't know, for fun. It's his kind of fun, I guess you could say. It's the same thing with, doggone it, the space movie.
2001, yeah. I mean, it's all, yeah.
It kind of has that same feeling where you can view it as a simple space, thing, or you could view it as this giant epic masterpiece.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And that's what this is. I mean, I get that. I get that this movie is trying to be this grand attempt at something, and the movie does have a bigness to it. There's a lot, again, there's some parts that are really great. I was never scared. And someone might be saying, well, it's 2018. You've seen a lot of scary movies. I don't do scary movies. I don't. Mm-hmm. So literally the only time I watch scary movies is for this podcast. So
we do 4 a year.
We do 4 a year, and it was for the last 4 weeks. And Mother was not scary, and neither was Doom, and Witch tried to be and failed. So, the last movie that really scared me, and I'm looking back at our list, The Exorcist gave me issues. Not gonna lie, The Exorcist gave me some nightmares for a couple days.
Yeah.
Birdemic, no problem. Buried kind of gave me a little claustrophobic moment. Babadook.
It was more of a thriller than it was scary.
Yeah, Babadook kind of a little bit, some moments that were a little creepy.
Yeah.
The Babysitter was great. Loved The Babysitter. That was fun. That was just fun. Yeah, he shot you. What an asshole. He shot me in the boob.
I forgot about that.
The Exorcist and Event Horizon were kind of the last 2 movies that we did. I was kind of like, this is kind of scary. Actually.
Yeah, Event Horizon kind of bothered me a little.
Yeah, Event Horizon's got some great horror film moments. The Fantastic Fear of Everything, didn't know. Zombievers was dumb. Saw was kind of cool. And of course, the ABCs of Death we all hated tremendously. Tucker and Dale versus Evil was great. The Prophecy, no problem. The Frighteners was great. And Poultrygeist was stupid. So my point is that Honestly, the last movie that legit kind of scared me, was The Grudge. That movie bothered me.
Oh, really?
Oh, that movie.
We didn't watch The Grudge, though, did we?
Not for the podcast. I was in college. Sarah and I went and watched it with some friends, and it gave me legit nightmares. And I was living in that was when Andrew, you didn't live with me then, never mind. But it was when I was living in apartment 4, and it's a townhome, and so there was a story above us, and my roommate Chris had a black cat that was running around upstairs, and I went up there and said, "Get that thing under control, or I'm coming back with a pillowcase, and I'm gonna drown it, and then we're gonna perpetuate the movie." So,
that poor cat.
He kind of laughed and it was like, "I'm like, no, seriously, dude, get that cat under control. I'm freaking out downstairs." He's like, "Oh, okay." So that was truly the last movie that really scared me. So, maybe I don't know. I don't know what it means. It means nothing. Anything else you guys want to talk about this movie?
No, I highly, highly recommend people watching the documentary Room 237.
I do want to watch it. I do.
Yeah, it goes everywhere from the significance of the number to did Kubrick confess to taping the Apollo moon landing to the specific Indian food parcels in the movie were on purpose. So, I mean, there's some really cool, interesting things.
There's no way he did the moon landing because that stuff's all too interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Throwing shade on a dead man.
So, but I highly recommend checking that out just to further your enjoyment of the movie.
You ready for some clips?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the first one anyway. I only captured this because I laughed when she says the word alcohol.
Something good did come out of it all because he said, "Wendy, I'm never going to touch another drop. And if I do, you can leave me." And he didn't. And he hasn't had any alcohol in 5 months.
Alcohol?
Alcohol in 5 months. That's not a long time.
Thank you, olive oil. That's all I can see her as is olive oil. From that really bad Richard Altman. Who did that movie? I know Robin Williams was Popeye, but Robert Altman? I can't remember. Anyway, it was a dumb movie. Those are the only 2 movies she did that year. Oh, wait, what's happening?
What's that?
Siri, go away. What is I did not call you.
Maybe Danny is pressing the button in his mind.
Maybe. Or with his mouth person.
Tony.
Yeah. Robert Altman. Yeah, it was Robert Altman. I don't know why I wanted to know that, but I did. Number 2. Oh, so I labeled this, on my notes, I labeled this as asshole. So basically it's just me commenting that this is 19 seconds of him being an asshole.
And we're going to make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, what the you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. How do you think you can handle that?
And then she hit him with a bat. Oh, wait, no. That's later.
So you're saying I should not come in? What? I don't understand.
So you're saying I should just let you starve. Just leave you alone forever. Got it. I can do that. I won't be the good wife and bring you a sandwich, which sounds great, by the way. I'd like a sandwich. I could use.
Oh man, I'm starving.
I could
a sandwich right now.
My bowl of ramen was good, but I could use some.
Yeah.
Sandwich.
Some chicken salad in the fridge. I'll probably go eat that real soon.
Oh, there you go. I thought this was I've actually never heard this term being used before as a derogatory term used for a woman. Honestly, so it kind of caught me off guard. And again, just the movie painting the picture that Jack's a horrible human being.
Just a little problem with the old sperm bank upstairs. Nothing I can't handle, though, Lloyd.
I've honestly never heard that as a phrase.
You've never heard that?
Not as a derogatory to a woman, no.
Wow.
I've heard lots of other phrases and things, but I've never heard sperm bank.
Yeah.
So that was.
It's not a nice way to talk about your wife.
No, it's not. No, it really, really isn't. So, all right, and then this is the last clip I got, and of course, I had to capture it.
Here's Johnny.
There you go. So, voted one of the best lines ever. Like, and it's funny because Kubrick didn't know he didn't get the line. He didn't know why he did that because he didn't know who Johnny Carson was. And so when he ad-libbed it, like he had to be talked into keeping the line, which is kind of funny. All right, here we go.
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
Again, a movie like this is going to have lots of trivia, and I've talked about several.
Yes.
I've already talked about several moments of it. So I'm going to read some of this, and it might spark more conversation, which I'm hoping for. Because Danny was so young, and since it was his first acting job, Kubrick was highly protective of the child. During the shooting of the movie, Lloyd was under the impression that the film he was making was a drama, not a horror movie. In fact, when Wendy carries Danny away while shouting at Jack in the Colorado lounge, she is actually carrying a dummy. So Lloyd would not have been in the scene. He only realized the truth years later when he was shown a heavily edited version of the film. He did not see the uncut version of the film until he was 17 years old.
Wow.
You said uncut.
Yes. What? Is that funny? No, okay. To get Jack Nicholson in the right agitated mood, he was fed only cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks, which he hates.
Oh, that would get me pissed off too.
Even if I like cheese sandwiches, I'd still be sick of it. After day 3, I'd be like, can I get like a burger or something? Like anything?
And I'm sure everybody else was getting fed really good food.
Oh, yeah.
This is why I couldn't be an actor. Like, I'll act how you want me to act, but don't give me that crap.
Well, that's that whole method acting and method directing. We talked about this when we did The Exorcist. The director of The Exorcist wanted to get a jump scare, so he actually fired a gun on set, and he told the crew that he was going to do it, but not the actors, and told them to record. And so then he fired a gun towards the actors, and when they did the jump scare, he's like, all right, great, moving on. Because they didn't know it was coming. Shelley Duvall suffered from nervous exhaustion throughout the filming, including physical illness and hair loss.
But did she seem, was she acting?
Well, some of it is, I was sure, is acting, and some of it is just her legitimately just exhausted and frustrated at Kubrick, because Kubrick just was awful to her from all the stuff that I read. Just was just mean, and Jack Nicholson has said in many interviews that she had the hardest acting job he has ever seen in a movie because of what she was asked to do and how she had to do it. So, Andrew made the point. He said she thought it was bad acting. I thought it was actually really good because she was asked to do a very simple thing: be a hysterical mother. Mm-hmm. I hated her character. The only character in the whole movie that's not useless is Danny.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Do you think that Kubrick treated her that way because he wanted her to react a certain way?
Probably. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know that.
Directing?
Yeah. Stephen King was quite disappointed in the film while admitting that Stanley Kubrick's visuals were stunning, which is, again, what I've agreed with. He said that it was all surface and not substance. He often described the film as a fancy car without an engine. Stephen King has also said he never understood why people find this movie scary.
Well, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is my moment of... I always forget to cue this up. And
I wonder if he intended for the book to be scary.
Yes.
That is one big pile of shit.
Okay, so here's that moment for us in the trivia. There's always that one in the trivia, right? So in 3 different pieces of trivia I found have 3 different not answers, but 3 different stories as to this thing I'm about to read. According to Vivian Kubrick, in her commentary on making The Shining, Margaret Adams, listed in the credits as the director's secretary and also the production manager on Eyes Wide Shut, was the person who typed up the hundreds of various dull little boy pages that are used in the movie. It apparently took her a few months. According to the trivia, Kubrick did it himself, and according to another piece of trivia, it was they made the actors do it. So, like, no one knows.
No one knows. And see, that's bull.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know for sure, don't write something up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's somebody just hearsay.
Yeah.
It would make more sense to have everybody like do a page instead of one person doing it all.
Well, and like, and in typical kind of Kubrick being weird, like he had an office with a secretary who they talked about there. You know, she comments in the on the commentary that Kubrick was looking for his next project and he was reading books. He wanted to make a movie from a novel. And like every day she would hear him read a little bit and then just throw the book against the wall. And she knew that he had finally found his project when after about 4 hours she hadn't heard a book get thrown against the wall. So, I mean, that just, all that tells me is Kubrick is insane, is all that tells me. It's that he's just the dude's just bananas. We're getting ready to hit to we're to the part where we're getting ready to do our top three. Anything else we want to say about this movie before we get to top three?
Oh, goodness. I'm good.
Okay, here we go.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
So we decided to do movies, haunted houses / we're just going to call it buildings. I mean, not all movies have, it's not a house, maybe it's a castle or a movie theater or a car that comes to life and tries to kill you or something. I don't know. Maximum Overdrive. So anyway, I just lumped it into the generic haunted houses. Andrew, unmute yourself. Okay. There you
go. Number 3 is Stir of Echoes with Christian Slater.
Oh, okay.
Or no, I'm sorry, not Christian Slater.
Isn't that Kevin Bacon?
Kevin Bacon. Sorry.
I've seen that.
Bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's been a minute since I've seen it, but it was a really good. I remember watching it, I guess, in high school.
There's like some
freaking me out a little bit then.
There's some moments where like doesn't someone like rip their fingernails or something on the floor or something like that? Like the girl, it was a real young version of the girl who was who plays Kirk's mother from the Star Trek reboot. She was on House for like 6 seasons. I think that's that. Anyway.
And then number 2, 13 Ghosts.
All right.
Okay.
And number 1, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Yeah, I remember Stir of Echoes. Yeah, that's the movie I'm thinking of. Jennifer Morrison. Yeah, she was young. Yeah, cool. All right, Sam.
All right. Well, since you jerks won't let me use my Jurassic Park 3 airplane, I'm going to have to put, my number 3 is all of the houses in the Paranormal Activity series.
Okay.
There's just something freaky about seeing a regular old house being so freaking haunted. Which brings me to my number 2 is the house in Poltergeist.
Okay, sure.
And my number 1 is 55 Central Park West in Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah,
very cool. My 3, my honorable mention is the house in The Grudge. Again, because that movie gave me nightmares. My number 3 is the cabin in Evil Dead.
Okay.
Which is kind of a stretch because technically the house isn't haunted. The evil comes from the woods and attacks them in the house, so the house isn't technically haunted. But
you're disputing yourself.
I know that was my argument for. I knew that was one that I was like, it's not really. My number 2 is Beetlejuice, and my number 1 is Monster House.
Kid show.
That's Spielberg not directed, but he executive produced it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a neat movie. We watch it every year. We watched it last year with my son, and was like, "Yeah, I don't want to watch that again. It's kind of scary." So because we asked him this year if he wanted to watch it again, and he was like, "Nope, I'm good." So we did, however, we have watched Nightmare Before Christmas. We did do that.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, even Daphne liked it. She's 2.5.
So what movies have we now done for October for this year? Well, this is our last one of the month, right?
This is the last one of a month. Yeah. Yep. This was so we are. I didn't mean to highlight that one. So this movie, sorry. So Mother was our first one, then Doom, then The Witch,
Doom.
and